shortly. After this, I don't mean to ask you to put you on the spot to say, tell us what's going to happen in the future, but tell us what's going to happen in the future. Good. Okay, let me just make one quick adjustment here to make sure we have that. All right, good. This is set. All right, so welcome to another, or I should say in this case, a special episode of Keep Leading Live. This is a special episode because the Keep Leading live stream as well as the Keep Leading podcast are dedicated to leadership development and insights. And so every show is surrounding that theme. Today's theme, while it will be about leadership, in fact, facilitative leadership, it will be dedicated exclusively to the International Institute for Facilitation, or INIFAC. And I am joined by the chair of INIFAC, Eileen Dowse, Dr. Dowse, as she's better known.
Hi, Eddie. And what a delight it is to be here. And you and I are both very passionate about this topic, about virtual facilitation or facilitation in general. So I can hardly wait to have this discussion.
Can't wait. And so what we're going to ask you to do is we talk about something very important to us today. We're both on the board of INIFAC, but Dr. Dowse is not just on the board. Eileen is one of the co-founders, or two people that co-founded INIFAC, and she is one of them, and she serves as the chair. And what we're going to talk about today is how you can become a certified virtual facilitator and why it's important, why it matters. Before we begin, go ahead, Eileen.
I was just going to say, apparently it does matter, Eddie, because we began this on June the 10th, this certification on June the 10th. And now about 6 weeks out, we have almost 60 people certified. So this is a hot topic. And your program today is a hot topic.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because even I didn't know what the new number was. So I'm already learning something. And that's saying a lot, because that number matches our credential holders for both of our premier credentials, almost in total in that short window. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
So we're broadcasting today on 3 platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And we want to encourage you to be a part of this discussion. This is not a presentation, unless you don't join us. It's going to be a discussion with you, the audience, and all those people out there around the globe who've been sending emails or calling, asking us questions. And so I decided that I said to Eileen, hey, you know what? I'm getting a lot of questions. You're getting a lot of questions, and I'm answering the same questions over and over. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a way we could talk to everybody at once? And then it hit me. I know.
I know. Let's do a trifecta of everything.
So we're doing it here on the Keep Leading Live channel. So ask your questions in the chat. Say hello to us. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're joining us from around the world. Put your questions in the chat. Hit like if you like what we're talking about, and hit the share button. You're going to want to share this so your friends can be a part of our discussion, and so that even if they miss the discussion, they will have access to the recording live immediately on their feed.
Mm-hmm.
So, we started June 10th. So that means somewhere in May, I don't remember exactly what day, I called Eileen and I said, Eileen, I got an idea.
That was your first mistake.
Well, I am now a certified virtual presenter, and that's different from being a certified speaking professional. Less than 17% of the speakers in the world have this credential. But just because you know how to handle a stage, it doesn't mean you know how to handle the virtual platform.
That's right.
And so if we're doing that for speakers, I think it's even more important for facilitators.
Yeah.
I gave a closing keynote at the National Speakers Association's Winter Conference in 2018, and I said the future of speaking is facilitation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't know how prescient that was. Because now I would say what I've said so much in our speaking world is that all speakers need to be more facilitative.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because everything's online, it's even more so important.
Not only is it important from the online perspective, I believe that a lot of people are wanting that type of interaction with their colleagues and with the people they report to. So if you don't know how to facilitate a discussion, please go out and find out how. It's really important.
It's really important. Absolutely. We have Dr. Angel Helgeson joining us. She's based in Houston, and she's a leader in our talent development community. So hello, Angel. Thank you for joining us. We also have Brian Wagner. He's joining us from Ohio. Thanks for letting us know where you're from, Brian. Brian's a member of the National Speakers Association.
Great. Hi, Brian.
So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to others joining us throughout our discussion as well. Before we begin talking about the certified virtual facilitator credential, it probably makes sense to talk about what is a facilitator.
Yeah, let me, and Eddie and I have hung out for many years, so he'll know that I'm about to go inappropriate. And he's like, oh, dang, why do I invite this woman on my show? So I'll give you an appropriate answer and an inappropriate answer. Let me start with what could be an inappropriate answer. And I only say that because this response might not appeal or connect with a lot of audiences. Sometimes when I'm describing what a facilitator is, I say it's like being a midwife. You didn't make the baby, but you're helping to deliver the baby, right? And some audience members are like, what? I don't get it. So another analogy I give for facilitation is it's like being a Sherpa. You are helping a group climb up the mountain, right? What they see on the mountain, that's not the Sherpa's responsibility. It is the group member's responsibility for the content. The Sherpa is responsible for getting there safely. The midwife is responsible for helping to deliver that baby safely. What happens after that journey up the mountain or after that baby's delivered, that's up to the parents. That's up to the mountain climbers. And that's really what a facilitator does. They are the person that deals with the group dynamics and deals with the process that's going to be used and all the different tools and techniques. Or do you put them in breakout rooms? Do you put them in an activity? What do you do? That's what facilitators do.
Wonderful. And INIFAC happens to offer the highest credential in the facilitation industry. What's it called?
That we do, and it's the Certified Master Facilitator. And what we found is there are some different certifications out there, and there are some facilitators who do a great job. And then there are some meetings with different participants that the volume is turned up a little bit. The dynamics that I was talking about, the dynamics are a little bit more challenging. The types of topics that need to be dealt with can be a little bit more challenging. And so it's those certified master facilitator who not only has experience, but I often say have more tools in their toolbox to help that group achieve that end result that they want to achieve.
Excellent. And so to come up with the certification for the Certified Master Facilitator, this wasn't something that was just thrown together.
Oh boy.
What did you do in terms of competencies when you created that?
Great question. Thank you. And maybe I'll just begin by saying INIFAC is a certifying body only. We are not a membership organization. And is a huge benefit to having membership organizations out there and that
Mhm.
network and camaraderie. INIFAC only certifies. And so when we looked at, okay, what does it take to be a great facilitator? The academic in me was like, well, we have to do research. So we went out and we certified people who hire facilitators, people who are facilitators, people who attend meetings. And we said, what works for you? And we took all of that information, and from that information, we came up with 6 competencies. Presence. Can you assess the group for what they need? Can you communicate with the group? Can you control the dynamics and the frustrations and the anger and the people who are perhaps just wanting to talk to speak and uh, just wanting lots of attention? And can you do that consistently? And then the last one is, can you evaluate the whole process? Can you learn from your experience and be better tomorrow than you were yesterday?
Excellent. So 6 key competencies and 30 total sub competencies, all
Correct.
said. So
Yeah.
I asked about the Certified Master Facilitator because when I came to you and said, hey, I have this great idea. Here's a certification we should offer that meets the needs right now of
Yeah.
facilitators around the world. I said, here you go, Eileen. Here's what I think we should do. And I want people to know that what INIFAC is certifying people on today looks nothing like what I brought in, because you took it and you added the INIFAC qualifications for a certified master facilitator. You
Mm.
took those key competencies we use for that premier credential, and you used that to build out the certified virtual facilitator credential.
Yeah. You know what, Eddie? You know I'm a camper, and it only takes a little match to start a big bonfire. So I think you started a bonfire. And the reason why I say that bonfire is what we wanted was something simple. And I was going
Uh-huh.
to say easy, but it's not easy. It's something that's simple and something that's quick and something that's all inclusive. Now those are pretty high standards to set.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I am really proud of this because we achieved that every time I do an assessment. And I don't prompt the candidate. At the end, they say, I can't believe how much you covered in 30 minutes. And that's what it is. It's a 30-minute interview. That's all it is. I sit down, or there's a group of assessors. The
Mm-hmm.
assessor sits down with you for 30 minutes and you have a conversation and we pick your brain. We pick your brain about all kinds of things. So I would love to hear in the chat box if anybody wants to know what some of those, brain picking things might be.
Yes, I'm going to share that in just a hot second. But first, let me show I got ahead of myself. This is the credential that you end up with. This is the medallion, the Certified Virtual Facilitator,
Yeah.
specifically an INIFAC Certified Virtual Facilitator. And why an INIFAC Certified Virtual Facilitator? For the reasons we just explained. An INIFAC Certified Virtual Facilitator has mastered specific competencies that are considered the highest in the industry. You receive this medallion and a wonderful certificate to put on your wall from Dr. Eileen Dowse
And the executive director, both
and
of
our
us. Yeah,
amazing executive director. Yes, Cameron
absolutely.
Whitehead.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right.
Right.
So let me go back over to check out our comment section here. And well, hello, Angie Holleran. She's one of our leaders in the International Coaching Federation, ICF.
Hi, Angie.
So how wonderful to have someone from ICF joining us. Thank you, Angie, for being here. She is my friend.
Great.
And Lonnie Williams, good afternoon to you, sir. One of our business leaders here in Houston. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about in terms of our certification is I'm getting a lot of questions directly. And one of the big ones has been, who should pursue
Hmm.
the CVF? Who's it for?
Wow, great question. The flippant answer is, well, anybody. And in a way it is anybody. We've had some business leaders who say, you know what, I'm really interested in this. I want to be a certified virtual facilitator, even though they're a manager. In this case, this person was a VP. We've had a lot of internal and external facilitators. We've had speakers. Basically, this credential is for anyone who wants to get some peer review on themselves and who conduct virtual meetings. This is not, can you get on a camera and look okay and turn on the right buttons? This is actually, can you facilitate? So some of those questions that we ask are things like, how do you move from one agenda item to another? And there are some techniques to do that.
Yeah, and then if the person says what's an agenda, then we know we're in trouble, right? It's amazing how many people still don't use agendas. They invite you to a meeting and you're just supposed to show up. We hit the start button on the Zoom session and here we go. No, what is the order of events?
Yeah.
Or as we say in mathematics, the order of operations.
Right. That's right. And
How would
the other
this go?
thing is, we often will say, some people go, "Oh my God, the facilitator's coming on. We got to do those stupid ground rules or whatever." And
Yes.
there's been a bit of a change to virtual etiquette, and now people have gotten very jazzy, and we now call that virtual netiquette,
Hmm.
right? And no matter what you want to call it, it's still framing up the conversation. So, in a way, we do that all the time. We frame up conversations. Hey, Eddie, could I just talk to you for 5 minutes?
Hmm.
Or could I talk to you at 6 o'clock for 5 minutes? So we frame up conversations. Why the heck don't we do that for meetings? Why
Yes.
the heck don't we start and say, the purpose of this call is to X? And if we could get done 5 minutes early, then all of us can go run off, get a bio break before we have to jump on to another meeting.
And we want you to understand at all levels, no matter who you are, how are
Mhm.
you operating on different platforms? Because
Yeah.
certain skills transfer over nicely from one platform to the other, and there are others that are very platform specific.
Oh, yeah.
A certified virtual facilitator typically has mastery of 2 or more platforms to achieve the credential.
That's correct. That's correct.
I've
And
had,
obviously, Zoom is bubbling up to the top
yeah.
for ease. Not only ease for the participant because it's becoming so common, there are some nice features like breakout rooms that facilitators are really liking.
Yes, indeed. And then speakers have asked me. I'm a part of a lot of organizations, I guess, but
Mhm.
my primary organizations, of course, are my coaching career. We've got the International Coaching
Right.
Federation and the National Speakers Association, where I hold my speaking credentials. And so some of the speakers have said, do I need that?
Mhm.
And I've said, yes. My whole premise in 2018 when I gave that speech was speakers should be more facilitative.
Mhm.
And certainly now, all the more so, because speakers are not getting on stages. They are having to work within this little box. Or should I look at my camera up here instead of looking at you?
Yeah.
But we're having to work that. So, how do you work that effectively? How do you
Yeah.
do the engagement differently than what we do in the big grand ballrooms?
Yeah.
So,
That's
to
right.
your point, I think everyone can benefit from having facilitative skills and by demonstrating that competency. And during this downturn, for many people, they're finding that an extra credential doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly here. We
Mhm.
have had some people that have not passed the CVF, and one case, the person had logged on, and after 5 minutes, they said, "Peace out. I just
Wow.
realized I need to do some more thinking." And it was like, you know what? You're right.
Mhm.
So, and they came back and they knocked it out of the park. Another person came close to passing and didn't. And within a week, went back, did a little bit more studying, came back again, knocked it out of the park. So the reason why I'm telling you this story is not because it's particularly difficult if you know the information. And we try
Mhm.
to make it very conversational and not nerve-wracking and, oh my goodness. You if you do this and you do it right, then it's really, really simple, and you have this lovely conversation and you share what you know. And then you are able to tell folks, I've had a peer review
Mhm.
and I can do this.
Yeah. In fact, while I ask you this next question, I'm going to put this up so folks can see this.
Mm.
If you are interested in seeing what we're talking about, head on over to INIFAC.org. You can see the website URL at the top of this image, and you click on the button that says CVF, and then you will get all the details,
Mhm.
how long it takes, 30 minutes, what exactly this is, and what it costs.
Mhm.
So what a individual who achieves this can say If you are an employee, you're not looking to be a paid facilitator as an independent one, but you can say inside your organization, here's the competency I have. Of course, if you're
Mhm.
independent, you can say this to your clients.
Yeah.
Now, Eileen, I notice here that we're only charging $88 for this
Mhm.
credential. Why are we only charging $88 for this credential?
Yeah. What were we thinking? What were we thinking? Because we're not making any money if we charge that amount. Well, here's what we're thinking. We're thinking that this is really valuable, and let's do this at cost and get the word out there that
Well,
there,
actually, we're not doing it at cost, right?
well, well, just about at cost. I mean, when you think
we're
about it,
we're, we're kind of losing a little bit of this, but we're doing it.
oh, yeah, we're doing it. That's right. Yeah, yeah, just barely doing it. Um, and partially the reason why we're just barely doing it is because folks like you, Eddie, and me are volunteering our time
Yes,
and saying we believe in this.
yes,
We we want people. We want to share the knowledge. We want to share the love and the credential. So get out there and do it. And what we've said is, you know what? By December 31st, holidays are over, well, then we will be upping the price at that point.
yes. And even at that price, that's more of our break even, right? We're for
Exactly.
what we're
That's
doing.
true. You're right.
And you talked about the process. So people are going through this 30-minute process,
Mhm,
which is very reasonable.
mhm.
And they're talking about what they are learning through the process of going through this.
Yeah.
What's been perhaps for you? Because I found that by doing these, I'm learning.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew this stuff really, really well. I'm like, nobody's going to show me anything that I haven't seen. I've heard of all the platforms, I've used them, but I'm finding there's some platforms out there, and some have come online because of this that I have never heard of.
Yeah.
What are you learning?
I'm learning how excited people are about fast.com. One of the things we check on for the certification is we check your bandwidth and your latency, and sometimes people don't know about that, so we give a little tutorial in the middle of the assessment. And people love the website to check how their internet is, and
Mhm.
we have a standard that you need to meet in order to conduct virtual sessions. Some of the things that I'm learning about is one very sad thing I learned was that I have a bit of a jealous streak because someone in San Francisco had their bandwidth was 1 gigabyte. And I
Wow.
was like drooling on the camera. I'm like, oh my God. And he said to me, Eileen, I pay for this 1 gigabyte. And it was like, oh wow, I didn't even know you could do that work and I get some of that. And then the other thing I learned partially from you, Eddie, and then partially from another candidate was this whole idea of it's important to have different camera angles.
Mhm.
It's almost like the old days of television where it was one camera, one angle. That's what's starting to happen in virtual. You need to have multiple cameras. So because of that, I went out and got myself a document camera, which is think of the old overhead projectors. So you can change cameras and you can do some writing and people like that because we are getting exhausted by constantly looking at a screen all day.
Absolutely. And it's interesting when you talk about fast.com, how we arrived at that, because when we showed this
Mm,
to the rest of the board,
yeah.
everybody had their favorite
Yeah.
testing site for speed.
Mhm, mhm.
And we just settled on fast. We say, hey, this is better. This
Yeah,
is, and,
yeah,
and we
that's
didn't
true.
we didn't disagree with the other sites, but this was better. Now,
Yeah.
this became very important because I did a very high level program where I was the guest, and the bandwidth came to a crawl, and
Mm,
it was not pretty. We got
mhm.
through it, and it was still a success, but my, how much better it would have been had the individuals known that here's a couple little small things you can do to test this connection
Mhm.
beforehand.
Yeah.
Or, hey, if it's high stakes, don't run it on wireless.
Yeah.
Hey, there's something called Ethernet. Well, what is it? So we go through that when we're assessing people,
Yeah.
and we talk about redundancy, and we get into what that looks like, what it means.
Mhm.
And candidates are learning from that. And then we get into engagement strategies. What's been your favorite engagement strategy?
Ooh, ooh.
I
Um,
don't want to put you on the spot.
yeah, no, probably like some of the engagement strategies are like the same ones. Well, we can engage people with the chat box, we can engage people with breakout rooms, but how these people are using those different tools are really exciting. Like, and I may be saying things that everyone knows, but who knows? Like bombs, right? So you get everybody to put in their answer and then 1, 2, 3, push, enter and send. And it's like, wow, we have all these answers. And it just adds a little bit of thrill. Um, I just heard last week someone suggested doing a scavenger hunt because it's about getting people up out of their chairs. And sometimes we think, well, you're in a virtual meeting, you got to sit down, you've got to do this, you've got to be serious. It's all changing. We've got kids running through the rooms. We've got, cats on the desk, and we need to figure out the balance of all of that. That how can we make this a little bit more enjoyable and more human?
Yes, absolutely. So we've been getting new strategies, and I thought we were pretty good. We've got a lot of documented strategies. I mean,
We do.
individually and our board
Yeah,
collectively,
yeah,
we've got some serious strategies. But I think all of us are learning something new as we go through this process as well.
yeah. Um,
So
can I add one more? This one is
please,
kind of cool, and I haven't ever heard this one before. And it's all about getting you to use upper body, right? Because we're just sitting here. So this one is use your arm as like a dashboard.
Mhm.
So we're so common we're doing, or so often we're doing this. Hey, thumbs up, we agree. Well, this says if it's flat line, you don't agree, and then if you go up, or where are you in the dashboard? So it's just getting people to move a little bit in their chair and circulate some blood and maybe get some blood going to their head to think more.
Yes. Yes. No, yeah, I remember that one. And then we had well, we can go through a whole lot of them. If we give too many, then hey, we're giving away the exam. But good. So that's one or two. If you want to use it for your exam,
There
you
you
got
go.
one or two.
And if you're really hungry, get talking in that chat box and we'll answer more.
Speaking of which, Angie is saying hi to you, Eileen.
Well, hello, Angie. How are you? Hopefully well. Hopefully well.
So here's the other thing that comes up, Eileen. So people have said, okay, I'm interested in getting the certification. Great. I'm going to go to INIFAC.org. I'm going to click on CBEF and I'm going to get certified. But what if I need training? Do you
Mm.
offer training?
I am sorry to say we do not, and we are very specific at INIFAC to say we are a certifying body. Now there are lots of different sources out there for training, and Eddie, you and I have talked about this, and it's like you
Yes.
could get so overwhelmed. It's like, bah! And quite honestly, I find that just talk to some of your colleagues, and Eddie and I will carry on conversations, or I'll talk to someone else and pass this information on to him, and vice versa. So share the knowledge with colleagues, and sometimes colleagues will say, "Oh, I found this great site," and it just seems to help the absolute barrage of information coming to us on the how-to.
Mhm. Absolutely. Good. So I'm enjoying this conversation with the co-founder and current chair of INIFAC, the International Institute for Facilitation, where we offer the highest credential in the facilitation industry. If you are enjoying this conversation, hit the like button. Let us know that you like what you're hearing. Let us know you're here by saying hello in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from. What question do you have about facilitation or the certified virtual facilitation credential? Or anything. we're coaches. We'll answer any question you
Yeah,
have.
there you go. We,
But
you know what, Eddie, you were talking about how we're getting lots of questions.
yes.
And one of the questions that I get a lot about is the how do you appear on the screen?
Mhm.
Because you only get your little box, right?
Yes.
So for those who are presenters, it's how do you work the room? For
Mhm.
those who are facilitators, same kind of thing. But it's how do you look on the screen? And I would like to propose that we just have a little conversation about that. Things like lighting, because you've got the circle lamp, you've got the softbox lamp, you've got not to sit in front of a window. Those are some of the things around lighting. What have you found?
One of the most painful lessons I learned is not to have a window open behind me. I
Yeah,
did that one time for an interview, but yes, lighting. And then if you wear glasses like you and I, the
yeah,
type of light you want, the ring light is not our friend. So soft
yeah,
boxes are your best lighting.
right.
Where you want it, whether you want one box set up or you want two set up. So we talk about that and we ask people to explain that in their certification. We
Mhm,
talk about the process in terms of selecting the platform you're going to use, selecting the tools you're going to use. You talked about
mhm.
using the I want to say overhead earlier, the document camera earlier.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
love being able to use the iPad and to be able to
yeah.
log into a session, and
You do
instead
that
of
well.
using a whiteboard,
Yeah,
being able to use an iPad and engage the visual learner, the
yeah,
kinesthetic
absolutely.
learner by simply the process of using that.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm finding that a lot of people not aren't necessarily aware of is that your screen is divided. You have to imagine your screen is divided horizontally in thirds and vertically in thirds.
Oh, sorry, you were asking me about the
Yeah.
screen piece. I
Yeah.
apologize. I
No,
went away
no
from that.
worries. That's okay. That's a good coach. I just brought you back on topic. Um, and the goal is to be in that middle third. And I've had people, even on the assessments
Right,
or even in conversations, it's almost like they're using their body, which is great, but they get really close and then they get far away, and
right.
almost to the point where you can get nauseous of what's going on. That, or I have people who are sitting very high and then they're looking down at you, or the camera is so up and you can tell if they should have their nose hairs trimmed. So it's really important about staying in that middle third.
Yes, it is. And you come close when you want to make a point,
Yeah,
when you want to lean in, right?
yeah, exactly.
There was something I was going to tell you. Oh, my friend Dr. John Molidor, he's a neuroscientist.
Hmm.
He would say that everybody should be, if I remember correctly, we should always be to the audience's right. So I should be more further left.
Yeah.
So everybody has a different
Ah,
thought
yeah,
behind that.
you're right, you're
But I
right.
do like center third is usually a good rule.
I'm with you. You would drive me crazy if you were just off balance there. So, but that's me. That's me. The other thing is just around distractions too, right? We've had
Yes.
people with not only in this assessment, just talking to colleagues, the ceiling fan is going around, and again, anyone who gets seasick, I'm like, oh, get me the Dramamine. So you have to watch out for those things.
Yes, and then it shows up in terms of sound, which is another thing that we talk about, the importance of having the
Exactly.
proper microphone. And then if you're using a microphone, what you should be aware of between the difference in the microphone and the headset, where the audio is
Mm,
going, where it's coming from, and how you separate the two channels and why you do that. So we get really specific when we get into this
yeah.
assessment.
And have you noticed that those people who are understanding all of this, oh, I need a better camera. Oh, I
Mhm.
need a better microphone. Sadly, I want to say to them, good luck trying to find one because it's like
Yes,
the market
yes,
has been glutted right now. Uh,
yes,
and and everyone thinks, oh, the microphone on my laptop is fine. Yeah, kind of, sort of, it is. It's better to have an external mic in our minds, anyways.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, what did I miss? Did I leave anything out? I think I tried to ask you all the questions that I have been receiving. Is there anything you've been receiving that I missed?
Um, Anything I've been receiving, no. There are a couple things that I'd like to bring up for folks that I think would be beneficial to them.
Okay.
Would that
Go
work?
for it.
Um, One thing that I believe people forget about is those terrible, horrible, awful moments when your internet crashes, your electricity goes out, or if you're using Zoom or your platform fails. So we have conversations about what are your backup plans? What do you do with those in those oh my word moments?
Mhm.
And if you're facilitating a meeting, you have to have a backup plan. Even if your backup plan's a backup person, that's fine
Mhm.
too. You got to have a backup plan.
Yeah, that's that redundancy we were talking about.
Mhm.
And an uninterrupted power supply goes a long way.
Ooh,
A-
yeah.
Angie's chiming in. Angie says she uses a wireless Bose earbuds, and the sound is so much better than using wired buds or the laptop. Thank you for chiming in, Angie.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. And you know what? On the receiving end, I've heard that those are pretty good. I've heard that those are pretty good, and I've also heard that Apple now has noise canceling earbuds that I need to go check with my bank first if I can afford those. Uh, but yeah, I do think that they work just as well, and sometimes they're not as clunky. I was talking to someone the other day, a psychologist, who said there is something mentally disarming when you wear the earbuds. if you have the headset, you kind of look more formal or, whatever. So thank you for your point, Angie, because I think that is spot on.
Thank you, Angie.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, the audience who watches me every week will probably notice that I shift between using these and my Apple earbuds.
Mm.
Because I want a certain look, I don't like to wear the headset. I use these when I'm doing the podcast behind the scenes because I
Yeah.
separate the audio from the my voice from the audio I'm hearing so that we have a clean track.
Right.
But I have found when I do these live episodes, for some reason, both of the times I use Apple earbuds, the audio was horrible because it was not using my main microphone. And so it didn't make those
Oh,
episodes as good. So I
yeah.
just said, I'm going to stick with these for now. But yes, we'll even notice that the newscasters, when we're watching television, they're all using the Apple earbuds.
Yeah.
So it is a
Go Apple.
thing. It is an
Yeah.
official thing.
That's
Another way
right.
that Apple has taken over our lives.
Yeah. Okay, Angie, you're on next on this show. You do the show. The other thing that I wanted to bring up that I think people really forget, and we talked about moving the body with different activities, is how do you get people engaged? And a large portion of that is your own energy, right? So
Yes.
sure, there's the use the chat. Sure, there's the put people into breakout rooms and have discussion, but just be so conscious of your own presence. And when a facilitator, a presenter comes up at a high level, the group will be a little bit lower. So if that facilitator presenter is coming in at a medium level, your group is going to be at a low level. So you
Yes.
really have to be on. And more I'm hearing how many facilitators who are doing this virtually are more exhausted at
Yes.
the end of a virtual session.
Yeah. You've got to bring it. You've got to
Ooh,
bring it. Hey,
sure do.
someone you assessed has joined us, Iris Lopez. She says,
Well, Miss
hello, Eileen.
Iris. Hi, Iris.
The certification experience was awesome with Eileen.
Aw, thank you. Thank you.
So how about that? She's joining us from Puerto Rico, and she was one of our talent development leaders there who ran the ATD chapter for Puerto Rico. And she was also a guest on this show a couple of weeks ago. So
Great.
thank you for chiming in, Iris.
And Iris, if you could chime in some more, if you have any takeaways that you found from this assessment. I had shared some of the things that people had noticed along the way, but if you have a specific, this is something I learned or something I didn't realize I knew, we would love to hear from you or anybody on this call.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we're headed toward the wrap up. So if you've got any questions, this is your chance to jump in with the final questions. And if you haven't hit share yet, hit share, please, so that your friends can get the answers to these questions. We hope to see you going to the INIFAC.org website and taking advantage of getting your medallion to become a certified virtual facilitator and having your certificate that you're able to share with your friends. So head on over there, check it out, and we hope to be sitting in front of you, assessing you really soon.
And with that assessing, please know we also laugh. I mean, this is not a scary thing, I promise you. We view this as colleague to colleague and really just sharing information and setting that standard.
Yeah, no, we're not scary.
Yeah, we really are. I mean, people are nervous. I get that. But you know what? We just relax them and share stories.
Although, true confession, I'll tell people that when I went for my first INIFAC certification, Eileen Dowse did fail me.
And look at us, and maybe look at us now.
Who is this Eileen Dowse person? Doesn't she know I'm the best facilitator there is?
Yeah,
and she shot me down.
and baby, look at you now. Look at you now.
Oh gosh. So she's not scary, but she is tough. I will tell you.
You know what? I'm not going to argue with you on that, and probably either will my children.
Oh gosh.
And you know what? You're right. All kidding around, INIFAC does set a standard. I mean, we are not just saying, we're not throwing out credentials all over the place. We do have a standard,
Yes,
and not everyone passes the CVF. And people come back and say, you know what I learned? Not everyone passes the CMF. You aren't the only one, Eddie. And you've come back. So it's about raising that standard.
Yes, raising the bar and keeping it high. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
well, Eileen, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show today at the last minute to talk about this, because we talked about this on Sunday, and then I was like, I gotta do this. And even yesterday, I had some more stuff come in. So, oh, before we part, Iris is saying here,
Ah,
yes, for me, it was a tremendous insight just being in the process. That's what I was saying earlier, right?
yeah.
I became more aware of things that I already knew, but during the assessment, Eileen just helped me figure out how important they are.
Mm,
Wow, what a testimony.
yeah.
So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that testimonial, Iris. All
Love it.
right.
Thank
So
you.
any parting words before we leave?
Um, what? I think it was Henry Ford said whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how it is with all this certification. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So go ahead and try. And we really do believe that at these kind of peer reviews based on researched, uh, surveyed checks and balances of what the credentials are, these are very important skills that you need to have. And I've even had people say, wow, this has helped me in my marriage. This has helped me in my dating life. Facilitation, like you said, Eddie, is the way of the future. We have got to know how to engage and interact with people better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you for tuning in. This has been a special edition of the Keep Leading podcast and Keep Leading Live. And this will live on the INIFAC.org website for you to reference and get answers to the questions about how you can become a certified virtual facilitator. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And remember, no matter what you're doing, always keep leading.
Bye.